My name is Priya Potdar and I'm going to do a project based on the deployment of SAMBA File Server under Professor Charles Border. So, this is the overview, that is the index of what I'm going to do in the project. So basically, what is SAMBA File Server and why we need it? It's very difficult to transfer files from one operating system to other operating system. For example, here we consider Linux and Windows. So to transfer files from Linux to Windows or vice versa, it is not possible until and unless there is some way or there is some server or mechanism to do it. So one of the things is through SAMBA file we can transfer the files from Linux operating system to Windows operating system and vice versa. So SAMBA File Server, basically it's a way, it serves as a helping hand to transfer file server and enables sharing of data and storage purpose as well. So what is SAMBA File Server? So SAMBA is a file server. It provides cross-platform file service between Windows and Linux. So in this scenario, we have like the client machines as Windows, and the file server is basically the Linux based in which SAMBA is used. So file servers is mainly used for data sharing or storage purposes, and because of this it becomes easy to access data because it has a centralized storage system. In this when we implement SAMBA file server, the server should be always the Linux system, while the client can be a Linux as well as a Windows system. So servers and client. Server has to be a Linux system and the client can be a Linux or Windows system. So the server basically has the database, the files or the storage where all the files are being stored. The client is the one which will access the database, files and the server. So it's basically like a client server scenario, and it resembles more like a master slave scenario where the server is the master and all the clients are the slaves. So in here, the SAMBA file server is the one in which the name of the application is SAMBA, while the service name is SMB, and there are 3 TCP ports used, that is port number 137, 138 and 139. The methodology. So here firstly we have to install the Red Hat Enterprise Linux kernel version 7. Version 6 is not being used nowadays because there are many features in version 7 which is new in terms of, as compared to the version 6, as many of the threads or the processes are being outdated. So here installation of application SAMBA. So we need to have the package for SAMBA. If it's not available, you can access it online if you have like the Red Hat Enterprise Linux version 7 installed, and then configure this. First you do is the configure the SAMBA file server, and then you configure the SAMBA client, which can be a Windows or a Linux, and then you test it. Here's the working demo of the project. What I did here is actually while doing it on my laptop, on the other side I just recorded a video of it and then I have put it in my presentation. So as in when the video is going on, is running, I'll speak to you what it does. So first of all, what we do here is I installed the VMware first. I created new virtual machine, then I installed the Red Hat Enterprise Linux version 7. In that I dedicated HDD of 20 gigabytes, and then I did all the configurations so that, and I powered on my virtual machine. So next I installed the Red Hat Enterprise Limited Edition 7, Then I started the installer, the Anaconda installer will automatically start, and then I fixed the times and dates, and then I gave the host name as a server, root password as Red Hat, and you can create the local users as you want. So next thing is that I created 2 virtual machines on this. That is, for one virtual machine I configured it as the SAMBA server. For like one Linux machine will serve as a SAMBA server, the next Linux machine will be the client, and of course the laptop which I'm on working is the Windows, which itself is another client. So here I configured the IP addresses, say 10.0.0.100 for to the server, and 10.0.0.10 to the Linux client. I'll show you the demo. Yes, here you can see like this, I configured the IP address for the client, and then I'm pinging it to the server, which says the packets are received and the connection is established between the Linux server and the Linux client. I'll configure my Windows machine as one of the clients of the SAMBA server. So I'll give here the IP address. It's taking time a little bit, so please bear with me. Yes, since the connection is not established, so I will set the IP address manually as 10.0.0.11 with a net mask of /24. And now you can see we are getting, as we ping the server, we are getting ICMP packets, so the connection is established. And now here, first what we do is we create a directory called DEPT in the slash. So under that, in DPET, that is department, we create like 3 departments like account, HR and sales. And then we create files in each of the departments. We go in that department in account. Yeah, we are in account, there is nothing in that, so we create a file using cat command 1.txt in which we write this file is on SAMBA server, and we rock. Yeah. Then I save it. The next thing is that what I do is I try to copy this 1.txt. I make the multiple copies of 1.txt with other names like 2.txt, 2.txt, 3.txt. I'll just remove the 2.txt file. Yes. So in account we have 3. So I copy all the text files from /dept/account to /dept/hr and /dept/sales. So all the 3 will have all the 3 files. Now what I do is I start the SAMBA service by giving the following commands: rpm-q SAMBA. So we have that SAMBA package, and then I do cd and go in /etc/SAMBA file. I see the smb.conf file, so I move the data from smb.conf to smb.conf.smp. I back up the data, I back up the configuration file so that nothing happens to SAMBA and it runs properly. I think my PC was hanged. Yes, now I go in that, I create a file called smb.conf. Now here we write some commands like global in square parentheses. Under that I give the net BIOS name, which is important. The net BIOS name is SAMBA Server, and the work group name. Here I would like to add some points to this. The work group, there is no work group for Linux systems actually. The work group is what we have for the Windows system. So to transfer files from Linux system to Windows and vice versa, we need to be in sync with the Windows system. So we need to have a work group over here, and the name of the work group should be same as the name of the work group in the Windows file. So what we do here is write the work group and give the work group name same as that of the Windows. So we go in the My Computer properties to see the work group. You can see the work group as RST. So if by default for all Windows the work group name is the work group, but you can't give the work group name as the work group, you need to change it to some other values. So for changing it is like this. I'll show you again. You need to go in change settings over here, then go in the change, press the change button and see the work group written over here. You need to change this to some value. Then you click more. You can see the NetBIOS computer name of the Windows client over here. Please bear with me, the laptop was hanging. So the work group name, I write it as RST, and now I give like details for the account. I'll give the path, that is /dept/acc. I'll give the path for other departments as well. I'll write it as HR. Path equals to /dept/HR, and for sales I can just rename it, but like SA for sales, but a path should be given the same as that which it is existing, that is /dept/sales. And over here the spacing between the is equal to and the wordings doesn't matter. I'll write in account as writable, so that it has the permissions of write. For the ACC department, writable equals to yes. I save the file saying :wq. Now I do this command system ctl restart SMB, so that I restart the SMB configuration. Yeah, it is executed. So now what I do is check the status for SMB. Yeah, it is coming as active. Now I write it as test palm. This command is used to test if there are any errors. We see here there are no errors. And for the account department we have written as writable yes, for which here it is written as read only equals to no, which is absolutely correct. Now what I do is I go to the file again. Now what if I did something wrong? If you want to see how we can see the errors, what I'll do is, instead of net BIOS, I'll write it as ET BIOS. I'll remove the N from that and see whether we are getting any errors or not. I remove the N. And now I again restart SMB. Even I check the status, it won't show any errors in the status, but in test palm it would show the error, as in here it is shown as ET BIOS name. So again I'll go in the file, vi.smb.conf, and I'll write it as net BIOS and save the file. So now what I'll do is, so there is no error in the file now. I'll just stop the firewall for the system, the Linux server, and I'll execute the command set enforce so that it starts running the process for the Samba. What I'll do here is I'll just add a user, say SMB user, for example the name of the user, and set its password. I'll write SMB passwd. Since I have created the user just now, so I'll write -a for the user SMB user. It will say password. I type X as the password, again X. So I created a new user called SMB user. Now what I'll do is I'll go in my Windows system and type // and the IP of the server, that is 10.0.0.100. And now it will ask for the authentication. I'll type the username, that is SMB user, and the password as X. Now you are able to see all the files which you had created in Linux server with the help of SAMBA server. That is if you go in sales, that is, and if you click on first file, this file is on SAMBA server. We rock. This is how you see the files. And now when we go to when I try to create a new folder, in this it comes in the sales, comes as access denied. So I go on account and try to create a folder. Now it says that this access is denied again. So here I would like to add, like, why is this, even if we have written in account like writable equals to yes, still we are not able to create a new folder. That's because the SMB user which we had created was a local user that was local to the Linux operating system. So here we need to do is we need to give him all the permissions so that it can access, read, execute, and write the files and create new folders. So what we do is we'll go to the Linux machine server side and give the permissions. We write it as chmod and O+W. That is, for all other users we give the right permission. For /dept/acc file only. And now when we go to the ACC department again and try to create a new file, we can and save it as new file. We are able to do so. So this is how the files can be shared between the Linux operating system and the Windows operating system Now we will see how the files are shared between the Linux server and the Linux clients. I write it as SMB client. I'm trying to find the commands over here. I try to go in the manual of SMB client, whichever commands are available, and see. Yes, so the command is SMB client two backslashes and the IP of the server. And then the folder name, that is /acc. I gave the username as SMB user, the name of the user, and the user password as X. So here we can see we have entered the SMB user, and we can see all the files of the ACC department. Now here I'd like to add that the commands over here in this SMB user are a little different than what we see in the Linux. When we try to create a new file called touch.a.txt, the command is little different for creating the file. It is VUID. So here is the list of commands you can see for doing different actions. If you want to write something in a file, you'll say echo hello dot in a.tct. I wrote it as tct. I think it's timeout, it didn't work. So I exit from that. Again I go to the user and type password. I write more 1.txt. So more is used to display whatever is written in the file. It does the function same as that of cat in Linux. So this is how the file sharing between the Linux and the Linux server and the Linux system takes place with the help of application SAMBA. Now moving on to the challenges. There are few limitations to the SAMBA server. It cannot act as an Active Directory domain controller. Since it is an open source project, it can be hacked by anyone if one is working on it, and the code is, since it is open to the world, it is very much vulnerable. These are the following uses. This is the result. I would like to go through it again. It is an open source project. Since the code is easily available, it solves the problem of migration of data from Linux to Windows and vice versa. It has centralized data storage, database. It enables working simultaneously on both the operating systems in an organization. These are the references from where I did. So thank you, and I hope the slides are useful to you.